Well, good morning, everyone. I guess it's good evening now instead. I hope everybody's having a great day. We're going to be here starting in here in just a minute. Excuse me. I need to take myself a little sip of a little water so that we can get ready and get started. Okay. Today we're going to be discussing the Manitowoc Flaker Nugget Ice Machine. These are commercial ice machines. A lot of the times you're going to find these are in a convenience store. Could be in a hospital. Could be that somebody bought one and wanted to spend about $8,000 for an ice machine. This is a really nice one. The Nugget machine is the same thing that you get at I just lost my whole train of thought. I'm sorry. It would be one like you would find at Sonic. Would be your Nugget machine. Okay, these machines are very good as long as you take care of them. If you do not take care of them and follow the instructions, you will be riddled with nothing but problems. So I will tell you that if you get a call on one of these and you get out there and it looks like it hasn't been cleaned in a while, we're going to go through a cleaning process with this. You got to get them on a preventative maintenance program. There's another session that we have later on this month about having how do you get a preventative maintenance program. You need to put people so that if you get a call on one of these and you have the problem and you see the problem is that it hasn't been cleaned and you need to get them on a preventative maintenance program, set them up. And then, pardon me, if you set them up, you need to make sure that you call them a couple of weeks before and say, hey, it's time for your preventative maintenance. Just wanted to schedule it with you, especially right now. Everybody is out there and everybody's refrigeration problems are prominent now. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about Encompass. If you don't know about Encompass, they provide the training that we all are doing right here. Please, if you need a part, check with Encompass. I understand that Encompass may not have the cheapest part around, but if it's not the cheapest part around, you can always rely on Encompass though to get you the part. Most Encompass areas are no more than 2 days out. I mean, if you don't, and one of the other things about Encompass is if they don't have the part, let's say that I'm ordering from Dallas, okay, and Dallas doesn't have the part, it reverts directly back to Lawrenceville, and that's their largest facility, and it will get you the part. Okay. So I really want you to go ahead and try to get everything set up with Encompass, and you definitely they definitely will look out for you. Like I said, they're the providers of this training. This training was originally done in April. We had 5 people that showed up, and this one is a very important for if you're going to do commercial ice makers. Okay, Easy Stock. If you have an Encompass account, go ahead and download the Easy Stock app. It's a great app. It doesn't cost you anything. Once again, a lot of the apps out there will cost you. Encompass app does not cost you. I will tell you that you could go to this Easy Stock right here, the HTTPS YouTube B, and with this last bit, and this will give you a preview of the Easy Stock program. Go ahead and if you've got if you've got an account, I would download it. I mean, I tell everybody I wish that they had this back whenever I first started as a technician. One of the things is it helps me keep track of all of my parts, and I can also keep track of anything that I have. Like if I have 5 trucks and I only have one torch set and one recovery set and one gauge set, I can keep track of all of those even with the Easy Stock app. So it's great. If you're doing refrigeration, you may not have 15 bottles of different bottles of Freon, and this will help you keep track of all that. Okay. We're going to jump right in here. We've got a lot of things to cover, and I'm hoping that we can all get through before everybody has to get away. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's talk about this ice machine. Okay, like I said, this is the ice machine that if you've ever been to Sonic, this is the ice. This actually Manitowoc developed this type of ice for Sonic. Okay. Now I think they're using Hoshizaki, but it originally was developed for Sonic Ice. It had a huge success. Okay. This is not an ice that will last a long time, but it does. It's one that everybody can crunch in their crunch and chew it up, and you don't break teeth. So one of the things that you need whenever you show up at the house, the first thing you're going to want to do probably is to talk to the customer. I'm going to find out exactly what the customer perception of the problem is, and then I'm going to walk in, get them to show me the ice maker, and I am going to locate the model and serial plate. I'll tell you that as I have gotten older, I definitely take a picture of the model and serial plate and a picture of my work order. That keeps track of my work order and my model and serial information. So where is that? Okay, where am I going to find this model and serial plate? It's usually located in a couple of places. Okay, the model it's located on a plate. Okay, in the evaporator compartment, and it's also on the back of the ice machine. Okay, the problem with the one that's on the back of the ice machine is that it has if somebody uses a cleaner on it, they will take it all off, and you won't be able to read what the model and serial plate is. The one that's on in the evaporator compartment, that model and serial plate is actually etched in, so you can usually find it. If nothing else, you can take a pen and use it, or a pencil, and you can read what the model and serial. Okay, that information you've got to have. Okay, if you want to get the exact right part, you've got to have that information. Okay. The other thing is, if you're doing a warranty call, they won't pay you unless you have the right model and the right serial. That's the reason that I always take a picture of the model and serial number on the back, and I take a picture of my work order. That way I know exactly where or exactly what those numbers are. I'm a little bit dyslexic, and I have been known to transpose my model and serial plate. So let's move along. And how do I read? What is the information that's in my model and serial plate? Okay. So if you look at the first digit, that's the series number. Okay. If you look at the next digit, that's the cube size. Okay. You've got an R for regular, a D for dice, a Y for half dice. Okay. F for flake, and N for nugget. Okay. So this one tells me that this is a half dice cube. Okay. With this model number. Okay. The F tells me what kind of refrigerant that I have. Okay, an F is a 404A, a T is a 410A, an E is a R134A, a P is an R290A, a K is a R542A. Okay, the next set of numbers, okay, the 03310, that is the capacity. That's how much this ice maker will make, okay? Then at the very end, you'll have an A. That tells me that if it's like this one is an A, so it's air cooled. There are water cooled units out there. If you have an N at the very end, that is a remote air cooled unit. And then a C is a CVD air cooled. Okay. If I have an N, that means that it is a remote air cooled unit. So the condensing coil and the compressor are not in the unit. Okay. It doesn't have the fan. That everything is in the condensing unit outside. Usually it's either on a roof or in the where I used to work for a company, and that's all they did was ice machines and appliances. As a matter of fact, that's where I learned where to work on ice machines. So if I have an N, that tells me that I've got to go find that remote condensing unit. A lot of the times people don't realize it. They'll put boxes or something on top of that remote condensing unit. If it's outside, just sitting outside and isn't elevated, and it'll cause the compressor to have problems with the compressor. The condenser fan motor will go out, and then if the condenser fan motor goes out, then the compressor goes out. Okay, so one of the things that I need, if I need to work on my Manitowoc, I can go out and I can look at www.manitowocice.com. That's /service/warranty. That will give me the information that I need for Manitowoc. Okay. One of the things that I love about Manitowoc, you can go out there and you can go to YouTube and they have classes that you can become certified with Manitowoc. I really like Manitowoc, and that's one of the reasons that I like a Manitowoc. They don't say, "Hey, it's proprietary information. We don't give that information out." There are classes out there, and you can get certified to work on Manitowoc. Okay, that is the down low. I will tell you that that if I was still doing ice machines, I would definitely have, and I probably will start doing a few ice machines again, and I'm going to definitely go and get certified with Manitowoc. Okay. One of the things that I'm also going to kind of touch on a little bit of was with all of the new Freons that are out there. A lot of these you don't have to recover. I don't have to recover. So I want to make sure that I'm not using brazing tools, because if I'm pulling in a torch and it happens to be an R600 unit, I can actually blow up whatever it is that I'm working on. Okay. And one of the things I'll tell you about that is, if the reason I would never do anything, and I'm going to tell you, people tell me, "Hey, I do it all day." Well, you know what? That's fine for you. I will tell you, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when it's going to happen. Okay. And that's my personal opinion. But I will tell you that I would not work on anything that is a flammable refrigerant and not use the Vulcan lock ring. Okay. There are classes on that are coming up. Keep your eye out for those. So one of the other things that I want to find, that I can find by looking at this website, I can get my warranty information, I can get my warranty registration, and I can verify that this unit is actually under warranty. Okay. One thing that is different about commercial ice machines, the commercial ice machine is the day that it was installed. Okay. So some of the times you're going to find, I can tell you right now that I was with a friend of mine. Actually, he's my cousin. And they had a warranty machine. You can tell by the serial number how old it is. So he goes, "Sir, this machine's out of warranty." The guy brought him the warranty where it was installed, and it had been installed less than 6 months. So there are machines out there. Whenever a wholesaler or somebody else has them, they may sit for 3 years. Okay, those go into effect on the day the unit was installed, not before. Okay, so our model numbers. This model covers the following models. If you look right here, these are the Flaker Undercounter model. Okay, these are self-storage air-cooled units. Okay, it has R404A. Those are the two models there. And then if it's R290A, those are also the two units right there. Okay, the Nugget Undercounter. These are the 2-unit Nugget Undercounter, and then the two that is 404A, and then the R209 or 290A are the two that are below that. Okay, Manitowoc. Okay. Every single manufacturer, I don't care if you're Manitowoc, if you're Hoshizaki, if you're Scotsman, if you're any manufacturer out there, they all have their own machine safe cleaners. Okay, I can tell you that most of them are that you usually get a 16 ounce or you get a gallon. Okay. So the cleaner part number right there is that's the part number. You can look it up, and that would be the part number that you would go into Encompass and ask them if they had it. That's the 16 ounce. Now the sanitizer, you're going to use a whole lot more sanitizer than you will the cleaner. Okay, because with the sanitizer, I can use the sanitizer and do the whole inside of the bin. I can do the whole ice maker parts. Everything that's got to have whenever you're going to clean something, you need to be wearing a pair of gloves. I used to use those the gray gloves that are basically you can get it from your doctor. Those kind of those little plastic rubber gloves. That's what I had a good thing with my doctor, and I would give him a box of money for a box of them, and I kept them in my truck. Okay, so you can't touch it with your bare hands, or else you just ruin your sanitization. Okay, so one of the things that's really important about an ice machine is the location. Okay, you've got to meet a certain criteria so that you don't have problems with your ice machine. Okay, if you can't meet these criteria right here, if you can't meet the following criteria, you need to move it to a location that you can get that information. It will meet those criteria. Okay, the location's got to be free of airborne and other contaminants. Okay, I walked into a restaurant. They had an ice machine in the kitchen. You can't have an ice machine in the kitchen. They had like 4 deep fryers. They had a griddle. They had What else did they have? Oh, other things, but that the problem was there's grease in the air. That ice machine will suck that grease up and it will clog the condensing coil. Okay, it can't be in there if you want it to work. If you want to spend every month, $500 for you to come out to their location, you know what? They're going to do what they're going to do. The problem is you're going to get there and it's going to be a list of things that are going to be bad, not just, one easy thing. And you just have to tell the customer, you know what, this is a bad location. Can we move this for you so that we don't have these kind of problems? Okay. It's all about repertoire and making sure that the customer understands what you're telling them. And then if they make the decision that they don't want to move it, that's up to them. Okay. But the one thing that you've got to be able to find, it's got to be free of airborne contaminants. Okay. This equipment is intended for indoor use only. Don't install this, install or operate the equipment. It's not made for outdoors. Will it work? Yes, it will. If you go and you look at any hotel, small chain hotel, they have them sitting out. The problem is you have to spend so much money on keeping the ice machine working that it behooves them to move it to an area that has a little bit of cover on it. Okay. Now the air temperature must be at least 50 degrees Fahrenheit, but it can't exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. So if this sits directly in the sun, this is what is called a liquid ice. So what happens is there's no freezing. It's not like in the ice maker in your freezer. Okay. This ice machine drops into a bin. It has the water particles around it. So it never freezes. It actually, whenever it melts, it goes to a drain, and that drain you've got to keep that clean, or else it backs up into the ice machine, and then you contaminate anything that comes in contact with that. Okay, the water temperature, it must be at least 37 degrees Fahrenheit, but it can't be 90 degrees. This is something that is not one of the things that it is what it is. You know what? If you're in Phoenix, Arizona, and the water temperature comes out at 100 degrees, there's no way you can change that. Okay. But the one thing that is not mentioned in here, but that I always tell people, okay, I can't put stuff on top of this ice machine. I can't block the airflow around it. It's got to have airflow around the ice machine, or else it's not going to work. It's going to go off on the overload, unless I have one of the units that has a remote condenser in it. That's a horse of a different color. Okay. So location of the ice machine. The location of the ice machine needs to meet the following criteria. If it's not going to met, then you want to change you want to change it to a location. Okay. It can't be near heat generating equipment or direct sunlight, which is what we had already kind of talked about. With it being in the kitchen, you've got all the heat that's generated around in the kitchen. Okay. The ice machine must be capable of supporting the weight of the ice machine and a full bin of ice. Okay. You'd be surprised how many people use it. You get there and you're like, oh my God, this thing's going to go through the floor. Okay. Location must allow for clearance for water, drain, and electrical connections on the rear of the machine. Okay. The location must not obstruct airflow or around through or around the ice machine. Okay. I had a restaurant, and they always put their stackable stuff on top of the ice machine and packed it on the sides. I finally got the manager to listen to me, and she got them to quit putting the information, putting all that around so that her ice machine wouldn't go off. That was a 1,000-pound ice machine, and they were a very busy restaurant. And I ended up getting her convinced that that was the whole problem that she had. Okay. Clearance requirements. So the top, you got air cool, 0 degree, water cool, 0, sides 2 inches. Okay. Both air and water cool. The back, you've got to have 8-inch clearance on both the air cooled and the water cooled. Okay. Installation requirements. Okay. The ice machine's got to be level. Okay. If I don't have this ice machine level, what will happen is I get a really funny harvest. Some of the cubes will be thin. Some of the cubes will be thick. That's one of the things that first thing you're gonna find out about a machine that is not level. Okay. You got to be able. It's got to be level so that the bin drain and the ice machine drain are separate. Okay. So you don't put them together, because what can happen is the ice machine can go into a harvest and it will back up into the bin. And if it backs up into the bin, I've just contaminated my ice. Okay. Okay. The ice machine drain must be vented. In other words, you got to have an air gap in it. Okay. The bin termination must have an air gap. Okay. Which is what we just said. The ice machine drain has got to be vented. It needs an air gap in it. Okay. Where the local code requires, a backflow preventer must be installed in the water line, in the water inlet line. Okay. What is everybody knows what a backflow preventer is, correct? Because that doesn't allow the water to back up into the inlet line. Okay. The ice machine in the bin must be sanitized after installation. Okay. I'm going to tell you that some of the people that install these units aren't the most sanitary people. But if you're installing, you've got to sanitize it. Okay. If I'm going to be working on the ice machine, I also need to sanitize it. Okay. It needs to be sanitized after I do anything that like, let's say I have to replace the bin thermostat. I need to sanitize the ice machine. Okay. Because I have contaminants on my hands. The only way that I could get away with that a little bit is if I take my rubber gloves in, and I only use them whenever I'm working on it, and then I can throw my gloves away. Okay. Local water conditions may require treatment of the water to inhibit scale formation, filter sediment, and remove chlorine and odor. Okay. That's your water filter. Okay. Routine adjustments and maintenance procedures outlined in the manual are not covered by warranty. That's something that you need to understand. If somebody calls you and they say this unit's under warranty and you're going out to make an adjustment or a maintenance procedure, you can't. That's not covered. If you submit it, they will reject it. Okay. Ice machine, heat of rejection. Okay. So if you look at these, your BTUs, it shows you. Okay. Ice machines, like other refrigeration equipment, reject heat through the condenser. It is also helpful to know the amount of heat rejected to the ice machine when air sizing the air conditioning equipment. Okay. So this is like this 2500 right here. If you look, it's got 17,000 BTUs. Okay, that's a lot of heat that's going to be rejected. So a lot of people will go, if I'm going to have all of this, I can now go to the remote unit, and that replaces a lot of the BTUs. Okay, water and draining requirements, your potable water requirements. Do not connect the ice machine to a hot water line. Be sure to check hot water restrictions installed for other equipment that are working. Then we're going to check the valves on the sink faucets and dishwashers. I will tell you right now that a lot of times you got to make sure that you're hooking hot to hot, cold to cold. So in this one, I've got to have cold water. I've got to run it and make sure that the water is cold. I have walked back and walked up on something. Somebody thought they had put it into a cold water line, and it was a hot water line. So it doesn't work properly, and plus we have contamination issues. Okay. If the water pressure exceeds a maximum of 80 psi, it's recommended that you obtain a pressure regulator from Encompass or your local supply, just to make sure that I don't have problems with the valves sticking whenever it goes in. Okay. Install a water shutoff valve and a union for both the ice making and the condenser water and the condenser water lines. Okay. So if I have a water cooled unit, I have to have a shutoff valve for both the ice making portion of it and the condenser water lines. Okay. I'm going to insulate the water lines to prevent any condensation. You'll be surprised. You go into something that's got a really, let's say that the room is really hot, that this is in, which you're not supposed to. You're operating under not the same heat problem that you'd normally have if I've got a door that closes. Usually there's a fan that's installed with that to suck some of the heat out of that. But I've got to insulate those water lines because it will cause the condensation and floor issues on the floor. And most of these like if you have it in a hotel, let's take a Hampton Inn, for example, because they're usually in a little closet. That's why I'm going to I'm going to wrap it so that I don't have condensation issues. Okay. All of our plumbing has to be conformed to local codes. If you're going to install, I would get with your plumbing, your local plumber association, and I would get all of the plumbing codes that I can find. Okay. Drain connections. I've got to make sure when I'm installing drain lines that it doesn't go back into the ice bin. Okay. And I can't have it so that it goes back into the ice machine. I have seen them where the bin was almost as high as where they drained it into, and you got a problem right there. Okay. Because I have to have at least an inch and a half. Okay. We've got to have it an inch and a half a drop per 5 feet of run. Okay. It must not, you can't have, okay. You can't create a trap. All right. So the floor drain must be large enough to accommodate the drainage from all of the drains, because you got to remember you have the floor drain has got to cover the ice maker itself and the drain from the bin. Okay. I have seen, I had an experience not too long ago where the bin was back, the drain was kind of partially clogged. And whenever the ice machine went into harvest, it backed up from the floor and flooded the floor. So somebody had to go get them a plumber because I didn't have the plumbing. I didn't have the the thing to clean out the plumbing line. So they had to call a plumber, and he had to go in and clean out the drain line for it. Okay, I'm going to run a separate bin and a separate water drain. I'm sorry. I'm going to run a separate bin and a separate line off the ice machine itself. Okay, you can insulate them to prevent condensation. Most people don't. They usually just put the regular old schedule 20 PVC pipe in it and walk away with it. All right. So vent the ice machine drain into the atmosphere. The ice machine drain requires 18-inch vent. Okay, you can't vent the condenser drain on water-cooled units. The drain must have a union or other suitable means to allow in-place disconnection from the ice machine whenever you have to service the unit. I'm going to tell you that doesn't happen half the time. Most of the time, you just have to lift up the bin drain or the bin drain in the ice machine drain. You have to lift that up and slide it out, but you have to put something under it because you do get a lot of water if you're not careful. Okay, ice machine water usage. On the following models, if you look, the potable water per 100 pounds of ice, okay, I'm going to get 12.0, okay? That's how much water I'm going to use. Okay, if I've got a condenser, an exterior condenser, that shows you how much water you're going to use, which is a whole lot more water usage. But on something that I can't meet the other requirements, I may have to have an exterior condenser. Okay, this is how you normally set this up. I will tell you that this is the way it's supposed to be. I'm also going to tell you that that's not usually the way that they're going to do it. Okay. Usually the people that are installing it, okay, either they tap into a line or they put a union in and with the water line, and you don't have this nice little shutoff valve. The problem with that is, if you don't have this little shutoff, you got to have a shutoff valve, because sometimes you need to pull the unit out and you need to shut the water off so that I can undo it at the machine. If I can't do that, then I've got a huge problem. Okay, so if you look right here, there's the vent tube right there that's 18 inches long, because that is the height of the ice where it will always so that it always has a vent. Okay, so if you look at that, you can see the tubing, the drain route. All right. Okay, you've got the water shut off. You've got the power to it. You've got to have an insulated. You've got to have the plug somewhere near you. You do not hardwire one of these. If they don't have a plug, you got a problem. Especially many of the larger cities, Atlanta, Chicago, New York. You got to have a plug that you can disconnect from it. Not something that you can walk in and flip the circuit breaker switch. Okay, maximum and minimum water temperature. Your potable water inlet, it's got to be at least 37 degrees up to 90 degrees. Okay. The water pressure has got to be somewhere between 20 and 80 psi. My tube fitting, I haven't been on one, and they tried to use a 1/4-inch tube. It won't make ice right. Okay. The fitting has got to be at least 3/8 of an inch. Okay. My condenser water inlet, as you can tell right there, it's again 3/8. If you've got an RFF 2500 only, you got to have 1/2 inch. Okay. So once again, your bin drain, it needs to have at least a 3/4 inch a 3/4 inch PVC line or a 1/2 inch condenser water drain. Okay. So you can use a 1/2 inch or you can use a 3/4 inch. For a larger capacity bin, if I have like you can buy a bin that will hold over 1,000 pounds of ice. I would go to a larger bin capacity drain, which is a 1 inch drain. Okay. Here's something that a lot of people disagree with. I'm going to tell you that the problem you're going to have is if I put this unit on a GFCI, a ground fault interrupter circuit, I am going to have problems. Okay. If a GFCI is required by code, use a GFCI breaker rather than an outlet, which is more prone to intermittent nuisance trips than a panel circuit breaker. Okay, so if they have this on a GFCI that's on the wall and not at the circuit breaker, you're going to run into more problems. That's what it's telling you. Okay, minimum power cord. The wire size to the receptacle is dependent upon the location. Okay, the materials used, the length of the run, so it must be determined by a qualified electrician. So if you get out there and you have one that is I'm not going to lie to you, 50 feet from the plug, I've got a problem because I will be usually they have used a 12-3 wire, and I'm going to have problems. Okay. All electrical work, including wire routing and grounding, must conform to local and state and national electrical codes. There is a website that is called code.com. That gives you you plug in your code, your zip code, and it will tell you your local codes. Okay. So every one of these ice machines has got to be grounded. You can't have it's got to be at least 3 wire, and those have all got to be picked up. I can't run it on a 2 wire. Okay. A separate fuse circuit breaker has got to be provided for every single ice machine. So I can have a multi-panel box, but every single ice machine has got to be on a separate a fuse, okay, or a circuit breaker, whatever you want to call it. So I can't run 2 ice machines off the same circuit. I've got to have a different circuit. Okay, and a qualified electrician is supposed to have gone and determined the wire size. Okay, check all ground screws in the control box to verify they are tight before starting the ice machine. Whenever you get done, okay. One of the other things that you need to be sure that you know, okay, I got to make sure that I've got the correct polarity of the incoming line voltage. Incorrect polarity will lead to an erratic. I'm sorry. If I don't have the correct polarity, I will have problems with the ice machine. It's going to cause it to be erratic, the ice machine. Okay, L1 wire to the brown, L2 and the neutral to colored. Okay. Now, I will tell you that, like I said, I used to work on ice machines. This is a checklist that has come up. Manitowoc has actually printed it into their service manual now. I actually had one of these that I had a clipboard, and I had this taped to my clipboard because I was running a lot of ice machines back in the day. And I had this just as a checklist to go back and make sure that I checked everything to make sure that everything was right. Okay. Number one, before I left, I made sure that the ice machine was level. Okay. Is the ice machine secured to the dispenser? Okay. You'd be surprised how many times you can walk out and pick up on the back of the ice machine, and you can actually tell that it will separate. Okay. It's got to be together. Okay. And if you have a bin, there are clips that come with every single ice machine, and I have to have those clips in and put in properly. Okay. Have all the electrical and water connections been? Whenever I got done, I wanted to check the water connections and the electrical connections so that I'm sure that I don't get a call back. Okay. Has the supply voltage been tested and checked against the rating on the nameplate? If I have a voltage drop, which happens with a long run of wire, I need to make sure that I won't cause the machine to go off on overload. Okay. So I'm going to check it, and I'm going to make sure that it's right. And I have that, and I check it off. Okay. Is the proper clearance around the machine for air circulation? I will tell you that I've always insisted, and if they put it back, then it's on them. I used to, like I said, whenever I was running ice machines, we didn't have the use of a cell phone and click. I'm old. I'll tell you that right now. I'm old. We didn't even have the internet whenever I first started. So don't pass out and fall on the floor with me. So I've still made sure that whenever I left, that's one of the things that I check. You could take this list, and if you're running an ice machine, you check everything off with this, and then you have the customer sign it. Okay. Then if you come back and you say, and you get back to this one, because I'll tell you, this is the first thing that will happen. Okay. You're gonna have the the ice machine. They're gonna pack stuff around the ice machine. You're not going to get the proper clearance, okay, for your air circulation. Okay, is the machine grounded and the polarity is correct? Okay, like I said, I checked all this and I checked it off, and then the customer will sign it. Has the ice machine been installed where ambient temperatures will remain in the range of 50 to 110? Whenever I was working, like I said, this was really old. A lot of the older hotels, we had ice machines at, and we would have to go in and we would have to shut down the ice machines at the end of the year because we would run into freezing problems. And if you freeze the ice machine, you got problems. So is the ice machine installed where the incoming water temperature? So you got to check that. Is the separate drain on the water cool condenser? This is not one that we really had to deal with usually. Most of ours were air cooled, but I still want to make sure that if I've got this, I've checked it off. Okay. Is there a separate drain for the condenser? Okay. Either yes or no. Simple. Click. Is the ice machine water turned on? You'd be surprised how many times you get a call and get about an hour away, and you've got a partner helping you, and you tell them to go turn the water on. If they haven't turned the water on, or they didn't turn it on all the way, you run into problems, and you may end up getting a call back. So I had this so that you checked it off. Are all the leads, electrical leads from the contact with the refrigerator line and they're moving equipment? Okay. I just want to make sure that I don't have any wires that are close to something that could rub. One of the things is if you don't have all of your lines separated, you can have something like let's say the compressor. Whenever it cycles, the compressor cycles, it could start rubbing, and you could get an electrical shock from that. Okay. Has the owner operator been instructed regarding the maintenance? So that's what I used to tell the customer. This is where I would tell the customer, Okay, with this one, you need to have this done every 6 to 9 months, and then we we would check it off. Okay, has the owner completed the warranty registration card? The company that I worked for, if they had not submitted their warranty card, and the way that you would know is if you go onto that website now, you used to have to call and verify that they had submitted the warranty card. If it had not been submitted, used to be able to call and they would send them a warranty card for them to submit back. Because, like I said, the one that I was on with my cousin, it was a 2-year-old unit and it had just been installed. So you need to make sure that you literally have the you literally have it under warranty and it's right. Okay, has the ice machine and bin been sanitized? Once again, if I do anything on the bin, inside the bin, I have got to sanitize the ice machine. Okay, is the rocker switch set to on? That's on your unit itself. Okay, these are just simple, easy things to catch. All right, maybe I will get it to swap now. There we go. Additional check leaks for the Quiet Cube bottles is the line size, length, rise, and drop within the guidelines. This is more of a this one is more of the installation problem. Okay, but you still want to check it and make sure that everything is right, because you need to advise the customer, hey, I made this whoever installed this, you need to have them come out and check it because it doesn't fit these guidelines. Okay, are the suction and liquid lines shut off valves open? Okay, is the line set routed properly? Are both the refrigerator lines to the remote condensing unit so that they do not lay in water and are properly insulated? Usually, whenever you buy a line set on a remote condenser unit, they come already pre-insulated. But if I have to do something to it and I have to cut that insulation away, I need to make sure that I rewrap it and change and use it and tape it back up so that it is properly insulated. Okay. Does the condenser fan motor operate after startup? So if I've got a remote condensing unit, I want to make sure that the compressor is on and that it is actually all the lines are flowing through. So you want to go outside and check that. Okay. I want to make sure that the fan is running on the condenser. Okay. Had the refrigeration fittings and joints been leak checked? Like I said, this is mainly for installation people. But if I'm out and I have to work on a remote condenser, I want to make sure that I've leak checked it. Has the condensing unit been installed to prevent any roofing damage? These are very susceptible. If you get a lot of wind, you can damage the roof. Like I said, some of the ones that we had were actually floor mounted, and I've got to make sure that somebody can't just pick it up and walk away with it. Okay. Have the refrigeration lines been insulated and secured properly to prevent vibration? Has the RCUF remote condensing unit been located where ambient temperatures will remain in the range of -20 to 120 degrees? Okay. If I'm sitting on a roof in Phoenix, Arizona, it's going to be very difficult for me to get this in the heat of summer. Okay. Is the refrigeration oil trap installed for the condenser? And it's installed 20 to 35 feet above the ice machine head. Okay. That's one of the things that you have to have. Most of the time, it's going to go up a wall. It's where you're going to end up doing for this. All right. Your bin thermostat. Okay. Small numbers, less ice in the bin. Large numbers, more ice in the bin. Evaporator, low temp. Okay. They're my safety thermostat. Incorrect. If you don't have this set correctly, it will cause the machine to shut off. Okay. So here's my bin thermostat and my evaporator low temperature guides. Okay. So if I have this UNF 0200, I'm going to set my bin thermostat at 5. My evaporator thermostat is going to be set at 5. If I happen to have the RNF 0620, that's about 2/3, about a little bit over halfway down, I'm going to set my bin thermostat at 2. So I use this guide to help me to make sure that I've got my bin thermostat set properly. Okay. One of the things that you need to remember, if I'm working in a high altitude area such as Denver, Colorado, I have to adjust my ice machine for the thermostat to be working properly. Okay. So you're going to refer to the guide to make sure that everything matches up for high altitude. Okay. Here it is. Altitude adjustment chart. My bin thermostat, if I'm at 2,000, I'm going to turn it up a quarter of a turn, 4,000, 5/8, 6,000, 1 turn. If I'm at 8,000 feet, 1.38 turns. Okay. Most of the ones that I have had to work on in a high altitude area was Denver, and that's whenever I had to adjust it 1 turn. Okay. Here's your adjustment screw. It shows right there where your adjustment screw is. Okay. So here it is. The ice machine will not start until the rocker switch is moved to the on position. That's interesting. Oh, so we're going to start this. Okay. So okay. The ice machine cannot be in contact with a bin thermostat bulb. If it does, it'll shut the ice machine off. The water reservoir is full of water. Placing the toggle switch in the on position starts the gear motor and the refrigeration center system. Okay, that's what you have to have for my flaker. All right, or if I've got the nugget machine. These are the things that I've got to have happen. Okay. There's your sensing bulb. It's showing you exactly where it is. Then you have your bin thermostat location and my evaporator low temperature safety thermostat location. Those are showing all out of this machine where they're located. Okay. Now we're going to talk about maintenance. Like I said, we're at 58 minutes. So I'm going to pause just 1 second. I'm going to ask you, does anybody have any questions right now? Okay, I'm going to give you about a minute to go through and see and let me know. Okay, if I don't see anybody has any questions, we're going to go back because we need to start moving along. Okay. So interior descaling and sanitation, maintenance procedures covered in the mount is what we're going to go through. Right here, it tells you to wear rubber gloves and safety goggles. You don't want to be splashing this stuff in your eyes. Okay. Okay. The descaling procedure. Okay. If I have a really heavily scaled ice machine, okay, and you're going to run onto these, if you're doing this very often, you're going to run onto this. And at that point, you need to bring this to the customer's attention and tell them that since it has so much scale on this unit, it's going to take you twice as long because you're going to have to go and you're going to have to perform a different procedure. Okay. Number one, the first thing you got to do is you got to take all the ice out of the bin. Okay. I have been in a customer's home that actually had one of these in their home, and I just moved everything into a cooler. You can do that, and then you can put every. I washed all the ice that was in there, so I didn't have any problems. And then you're ready to go. Okay, all ice is removed from the bin. The ice machine and the bin have to be disassembled. Then you have to descale it. Then you have to sanitize it. Okay, those are the three procedures. You have to disassemble, you have to descale both the ice machine and the bin, and you have to sanitize the machine. The ice machine procedures ice with the descaler and the sanitizer solutions. All ice during the descaling and sanitizing procedure must be thrown away, discarded, thrown away, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and here's your heavily scaled descaling procedure. Perform this procedure if you have some of the symptoms: grinding, popping, or squealing noises from the evaporator, grinding noise from the gearbox. The ice machine trips the speed sensor. That if I get called on this call and I see that this thing is not working and it's tripped out, I'm going to tell the customer, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. Okay, that's fine. We will do this for you, and we will. It's gonna take an extra amount of time because the descaling procedure has not been performed in this unit for a long time. That is best done in the presence of the customer. Okay. My exterior cleaning, what does it do? It removes dust and dirt from the exterior surfaces. I can use just a mild household dishwashing detergent with warm water, and then I'm going to wipe it dry with a clean cloth. One of the problems that you may encounter is if this is in a heavily trafficked area, your condenser fan motor may have a lot of stuff that has condensed onto that fan motor, and it may take a little bit more than just your normal household cleaner to get rid of that. You may have to use something. I used to use a ice machine cleaner on it. Okay, scaling and desanitizing procedures. Okay, number one, I've got to have a metal safe. Okay, ice machine descaler. That's the part number right there. Ice machine sanitizer. There's your part number. These are both the smaller bottles. Okay, I always kept a gallon bottle for the sanitizer, but I had a small bottle that I had I had a little kit that I had put together that had all the stuff that I needed. A lot of times you're going to need a thin comb, a small little bristle brush. Then I'm going to need my ice machine cleaner, my ice machine descaler. I kept one of those Scotch-Brite pads, the plastic ones, in that, and I kept that in one little kit. And whenever I went on one of these calls, I just grabbed my kit, and that way I didn't have to go through and find everything. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the top and the covers, and set the toggle switch to off. I'm going to remove all the ice from the bin. I'm going to turn off the ice making water supply and the drain water from the evaporator and the reservoir. Okay, I'm going to remove the top cover from the water dispenser, the water reservoir. I'm going to follow the chart and pre-mix the descaler and the water. I'm going to fill the evaporator and the reservoir with the descaling solution. Okay. Step number 7, I'm going to move the toggle switch to the on position. Okay. Once again, I'm not getting any water into the machine. I'm using the water that is there already. Okay. The ice machine will make ice and with the descaling solution and deposit the ice in the bin. After remaining descaler and the water solution, as the water level drops, okay, I do not allow the descaler water level to drop below the minimum water level, so I can turn it off. The ice machine will will discontinue the descaling cycle if the water float switch opens. So I may need to keep me an extra bottle of a little water bottle with me, and that way I can add more water to it. After all the descaler water solution has been added, turn the ice machine on, making the water supply. Continue the freeze cycle for 10 minutes to remove all the descaling solution from the water circuit. Place step 9, place the toggle switch to the off position. Refer to the removal of the parts for descaling. So these are the parts that I need to remove. I'm going to show you in just a minute. I'm going to hand descale all parts. So one of the things that I'm going to have to descale is going to be the reservoir for the ice machine, for the unit. So that's with it in the off position. Then after I get done with that descaling, I'm going to have to sanitize everything. I also had a 5-gallon bucket that I used with me, that I kept with me, so that I could help with the descaling. Once again, at the very end, I'm going to spray the discharge spout, and it's shown right here on the down below here. Okay, so I'm going to reassemble the ice maker. I'm going to turn the ice maker on. Okay. Turn off the ice making water supply. Refer to the chart. Pre-mix the water and the sanitizer. Okay. Amount of water, 4 liters of water. I'm going to put in 15 milliliters, okay, of the sanitizer. I'm going to fill the evaporator and the reservoir with the sanitizer. Once I do that, I'm going to move the toggle switch to the on position. The ice machine will make ice with the sanitizer solution and deposit it in the ice bin. Add the remaining sanitizer and water solution when the water level drops below the line on the reservoir. Do not allow the water level to drop below the minimum water level. Once again, the ice machine will stop working, and we're going to have problems again because it opens the float switch. After the sanitizer water solution has been added to the reservoir, turn on the ice-making water supply. Continue this freeze cycle for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to discard all the ice that's produced. The way that I discarded it was that was my 5-gallon bucket. I put all that in and I could pour it in, and that got rid of all of my water. Okay. So here's the heavily scaled flake ice machine. Remove the top and the covers just like it. Turn on the ice maker. Turn off the water supply. Remove the top cover, and then I'm going to mix the descaler with lukewarm water in a non-metallic container. You can't use a metallic container. Like I said, I had a plastic container that I used. Okay, this right here tells you the water reservoir capacity. Okay, on our model, it holds 400 milliliters. So I'm going to use 266 milliliters of descaler and 148 milliliters of water. Okay. Remove all the water from the evaporator and the water reservoir. Add the entire descaler water solution and reinstall the reservoir cover. Leave the descaler water solution in the evaporator for a minimum of 4 hours. Remove the descaler water solution from the evaporator and water reservoir. Follow the standard descaling and sanitizer solution. I told you that if I have a heavily scaled unit that I had to charge extra. Right here is the reason. Minimum of 4 hours. Okay. That's something that you need to inform the customer before you start. Okay, removal of parts for descaling. Once again, if I have 4 liters of water, I'm going to use 500 milliliters of descaler. Okay. So I'm going to turn on the water supply, remove the components listed in the following pages for the descaling and sanitizing. I'm going to soak the removed parts the properly mixed solution of descaler and water. I'm going to use a soft bristled brush or a sponge. Don't use a wire brush to completely descale the parts. Use a solution and brush or sponge to descale all the components inside the bin. I'm going to rinse all the descaled parts with clear water. Okay. If I'm going to mix the sanitizer, okay, I will tell you right now, if I'm mixing sanitizer solution, I do not use water, okay, to rinse the sanitized parts. Just let them go, okay? I'm going to soak the parts in the sanitizer and water solution for 10 minutes. Use the sanitizer, water solution, and a sponge to descale all the removed components inside of the bin. Do not rinse the sanitized compartments anywhere, okay? Continue with step 11 of the scaling and sanitizing procedure, okay? Ice chute removal, okay? I have got to know how to take this thing apart, okay? The first thing I'm going to do is disconnect the water, okay? I'm going to place the toggle switch in the on-off position, and disconnect the power to the ice machine. Step number 10 is disconnect the water supply, remove the water reservoir cover. I'm going to remove the micro switch and the bin thermostat from the ice chute, and then I'm going to remove the container, the ice chute elbow, and the ice chute. It's all detailed in the figure to the right. Okay. Cleaning the air-cooled condenser. Okay. Okay. Clean inside the condenser with a soft brush or a vacuum with a brush attachment. Okay. Most of the ones that I've ever done, I couldn't use a vacuum because it wouldn't suck it all up. I always had to use a brush. Okay. Shine a flashlight through the condenser to check for dirt in between the fins. If dirt remains, a method suitable for removal of the contamination must be used to ensure the airflow. I had a foaming condenser cleaner that I used. It was I used a squirt bottle, a little small squirt bottle. Okay. I would use that. If I couldn't see through that, I would spray that foaming condenser coil cleaner on it, and that would pull it all out. You can also use that on if you have a fan motor that is really bad with grease. You can clean that with the same thing with your with a cloth. Okay. So let's talk about what happens. I already told you that some of the ones that we used to have required a winterization. Okay. So if I'm going to winterize my unit, I'm going to descale and sanitize the ice machine. I'm going to press the power button and turn the ice machine off. After I've descaled and sanitized the ice machine, I'm going to turn off the water supply, disconnect the drain to the incoming ice machine line and to the rear of the ice machine, and drain the water trough. That's the one thing a lot of the people forget. You have to drain the water trough. It will freeze, and if it freezes, you run the risk of ruining the pump. Okay. Press the power button, turn off the ice machine, disconnect the electrical supply at the circuit breaker or the electrical service switch. This is the one I was telling you. You need to have a plug. That way you can unplug it. Okay. Fill a spray bottle with sanitizer and a water solution. Spray all the interior food separate surfaces. I'll spit it out. The food zone surfaces, and then I don't rinse, and I just allow it to dry. I remove all the panels. So, if you look at this, one thing I can tell you about Manitowoc ice machines that I really like, it has a very simple wiring diagram. Okay. If you look, number 1 is the gear motor. Number 2 is the compressor. Number 4 is the condenser fan motor, and so on and so on. Okay. Number 24 is the on-off switch. So I can find all of this information at the back of in my manual. If I don't have the manual, this will be available at the end of this program. Okay, it'll probably take about 24 hours, but if you're doing ice machines, you're going to need this information. Okay, and here we go. This is for the UNF 0200. Okay, right here, if you want to go, this is their address. Okay, this is the class that I had told you about. Okay, does anybody have any questions? I know that we ran a little bit longer than we normally do, but I wanted to make sure that we got everything that we did. And I'm telling you, for us to have a class, this is a one-day class for us to sit down and go through. And the one thing I can tell you is, as a technician, I learned more from hands-on than I did sitting in it, doing it virtually. We're looking at doing some hands-on training in one of the centers. I'm not sure which one it is, but that's one of the things that I want to get done. We'll have the machine there with you. We'll simulate several of the issues, and if we can then sit down and go through exactly what the issues are. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Going once. What do you think about the Manny Undercounter Cuber that after a recent cleaning? Jeff, can you explain to me, what do you think about the Manny Undercounter Cuber? Starts to freeze up the evaporator. Okay, how old is the unit? Hey, Jeff, how old is the unit? 2 to 3 years. Okay. Whenever you clean the unit, was it is the evaporator is freezing up? Whenever you say freezing up, is that it is short cycling, or is it that it freezes the whole the sheet? Does it turn that into a bin of a whole thing of ice, a bin of ice? Does it, and it won't come off? Is that what you're talking about? Somebody else cleaned large mass forms up under up under evaporator. Hey, Jeff, can we take this offline? Do you have any pictures of that? Darn. So whenever you're talking about it stops harvesting. So it stops harvesting and goes back to a freeze. My information is scrolling across the bottom of the screen, Jeff. Call me. First text me and I'll call you. or call me as soon as we hang up here, and let's sit and talk about that. Maybe I can send you a couple of pictures of what I think you're talking about, just so that we're sure. Okay. Like I said, just call me or text me. But everybody, thank you very much for your time. We will see you. We will see you next time. We'll have a class on Tuesday. Okay, it's stuck in freeze, so it never trips. It never trips. Okay. All right. Well, guys, have a great day. We will see you next time. And Jeff, I'll expect a text from you.